Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back. Kellen here again with a Droid there. So we've got the Galaxy Z Fold 3 here. You've probably already watched the unboxing of it, but now that a number of you are starting to get this thing in hands, we want to make sure you know what to do with it right out of the box. This is one of those things we always do. So I don't want to waste any more time. This is our first 10 things to do with your Galaxy Z Fold 3. If you're any sort of longtime follower of the channel, you know where we're going to start here. Yes, we're going right to security, the lock screen, and fingerprint reader, and that sort of stuff. So during setup, you'll probably be asked to set up a fingerprint reader. And if you skipped it, well, we're going back to it right now. This stuff is very, very important, especially with a device like this, because you have two screens to manage. It's just a big, huge, heavy device. And so you want to make it accessible. And so you want to make it super easy to get into it is where I'm kind of going here. So anyway, in settings, you'll scroll down over here and there are lock screen and biometrics and security settings. And this is where we're headed. So lock screen first. So you have to set a lock screen, and you should do this on every single phone. I don't need to give you the speech there, but in here, you'll see swipe pattern, pin, password, or none. Definitely don't use swipe. Definitely don't use none. That will require zero security on your phone at all. So pattern is what I have set up, but you could set a pin or password, whatever. Anyway, once you've set those, you get these options, face or fingerprints. And so then you can unlock your phone with your face or with your fingers. Fingerprint reader, by the way, is here in the power lock switch. It doubles as a fingerprint reader, and it's a pretty good one. So you don't have one in the screen, which is fine because in-screen fingerprint readers still suck. So just use this one. And then also it'll do facial unlocks as well. So you've got that set up. Cool. We're going to jump over. We're probably going to dance between these two areas, but let's go into biometrics and security now. So here is your face recognition. And each time you enter these, you're going to have to do your pattern, password, pin. I already have face data set up, but basically all you do is click on setup. It brings a circle up in the middle of the thing, uses the front camera, and records your face. There are some settings in here that you may want to adjust. Number one, you can just turn face unlock off if you want. I have this one toggled on, which is stay on lock screen until you swipe. So there are two options. If that's unchecked and it looks at your face and recognizes it, it'll just unlock right to your lock screen. It's up to you. That's kind of a really fast way to get into your phone. If you leave this checked, it unlocks and it still requires you to swipe on the screen. I've just found that to be my style, so that's why I do that, but otherwise, whatever you want to do. Require eyes open, definitely a good one. So when you're asleep, someone isn't just holding your phone over your face and unlocking. Those are kind of the big ones in there. So backing up though, so fingerprints, you can add 4. I believe you can only add 4. You can't add 10 or something like that. So I have all 4 set up. This phone, again, the fingerprint reader is here on the side. There are some key fingerprints you're going to want to set up. So number one is your right thumb, because it's on the right side and you're going to grab your phone like this a lot and use this fingerprint. The other one I think I did was this finger. And to be honest, I'm not really sure why. I don't think I've ever unlocked it with that one. That said, the other ones that are very, very important are, and this could just be me, but when I grab the phone with my left hand, my middle finger actually wraps around right on there. And so I made that one of my fingers. So that unlocks it. And for you, it might be your index, or maybe it's this finger. Either way, my middle finger just happens to rest perfectly on there. It was just like that with the Z Fold 2. So that's why I set that up. The other one, and again, I have this thumb because, you hold like this and unlock a lot. But the other one you might want to do is this thumb, your other thumb. And I know you're going, Kellen, but you hold it over here, you're never going to touch it. Aha. But when you set it on a desk and you want to unlock, you grab like that and then it unlocks. You see the beauty there? So again, I do both thumbs, and this random middle finger are kind of my favorite. So again, that unlocks. If it's on a desk, you reach over, you can unlock it doing that. And if you're holding in this hand, unlock there. So in biometrics, not much else in here that I want to tell you to set up right away. I mean, there's, you'll find my mobile stuff's in here and Samsung Pass and secure folders and stuff, but whatever. Lock screen though, let's go back there. So lock screen settings. We already set up this stuff. However, this is where your always on display settings are. So always on display, I'm talking about that, which is just one of those key useful Android features that we all love now. So anyway, the toggle for it is there. But in there are a bunch of settings. Like I have mine to show always on, and that's on both screens. You could also have it not show unless you tap, and then it'll show for 10 seconds, or you can set a schedule for when you might think you want that on. I don't know. I just always have it always show because that's just kind of my style. Anyways, clock screen, clock style. You can set different clock styles in here. I just go with this one, which I thought was the default, but there's one over there. Anyway, you can change colors, all sorts of stuff. In here, thought there was one more thing. I guess not. So anyways, you're always on display, which is always fun. If you go down in here, there's a widget section. And to be honest, I've never used these, but some of you might find them useful. See how there's like music and schedule and alarms and weather and stuff like that. So where you'll find these is on your always on screen, which is there. If you tap on the clock, it brings up those widgets, and that's what it's referring to. So music controls and your weather and stuff like that. So I feel like I should start using those, but I haven't quite yet. Anyway, that's what those widgets are, in case you were wondering. The other big one, though, is notifications. So notifications, this is how you want them to show on your lock screen. So you can have them show as just icons. So as notifications roll in, they'll just show as a little icon with no details, a little bit more privacy there. If you're not too worried about it, you can do what I do, which is details, and that shows you an expanded notification. You can adjust transparency of how that will look, even reverse text color, hide content, and then you can also decide if you want them to alert and be silent notifications on there or alert notifications only. I just have all my notifications show up on there because that's just kind of what I've always done. And that's pretty much it. So backing out of there. One more thing. This shortcuts thing. So on your lock screen, you have shortcuts out of the box to the camera and the phone. You can change those. If you want to change those to any app on your phone, you can do that left or right. You can just go in there and choose a different app. So anyway, that should get you going. That should get you lock screen and security set up. And now we're ready to fully dive in here. And the first place to dive in is, well, it makes sense, the inside here, the inside display. And actually, we're going to talk both displays. This is one of the most important things about a foldable, well, especially this one, because you have two screens, is setting up both screens. So you can have different experiences on the inside and the outside. And you might as well take advantage of those unless you or one of those people that doesn't want to. And I have an option for you as well. But if you want to have two different screen setups because they're kind of used for different things, I would say get those ready. So for example, well, let's actually start out here. So the cover screen, really nice cover screen, by the way. See, it looks like I have the same setup out here, but it's definitely more minimal. I only have 4 shortcuts down here. I have a little weather widget up here. You can expand that. I keep it pretty minimal on my main screen, but if I swipe over here, I just have a handful of apps that I need to access all the time. But they're the apps that I would probably use quickly from this smaller sort of thin screen that's not that fun to use at all times. I just swipe over and I can get into these apps. You can see I don't have a bunch of folders and stuff. I do have like a Google search widget. And again, I only have 4 apps down here. However, when I open, it still looks similar, but you can see I've added another icon down here, and you can have, I think it's up to 9 different shortcuts down here on the bottom. I only have these 5, but again, you can really cram a lot of apps down there when you're opened up. I still have the same widget up here, keeping it minimal, but then when I swipe over here, you can see it's a much different layout. I have, my media folder to get into all of those apps, my workout folder, and my home controls, and any of the ordering services I use. You can see I have more apps, a bigger setup. And so that's how I sort of function. This is kind of like the big setup where I'm doing lots of different stuff and I want to, like really consume media or whatnot. And the cover display is for like just getting in, quickly doing stuff, the apps I need to use right away and all of that stuff. So I have it set up this way. I'm just kind of giving you even just minimal guidance here on sort of what you can do. You can see I'm really, really minimal. But you may want to throw like a whole bunch of widgets on one page, and over here you have more widgets, and then you have some apps. It's kind of up to you. Obviously, you can still swipe in here and get into your app drawer and find those things and make your own folders. But this is just kind of a basic setup. You can still swipe over here too and get into the Google Discover feed, which is kind of fun. That's kind of just the default out of the box now on Samsung phones, which we love. But anyway, so you can set up 2. If you don't want to set up 2, I have an option. And that option is if we go into settings, and we scroll over here to home screen, there's an option up top that says cover screen mirroring. So if you go into cover screen mirroring, it says use the same layout on your cover and main screens. Changes in one place are reflected in the other. So if you're not like me, who wants to use different layouts on the different screens, and you're like, dude, that doesn't make sense. I just want the same layout inside to out, maybe just expand it on the in. Well, this is for you. You can turn this on and it will expand your outer screen to the inner. I'm not going to do it because I don't want to screw mine up, but there is a setting for you. And so there you go. Yeah, other than that, while we're in here, some other home screen things. This is where you'll find, like, if you want to turn your app drawer off or on, you want it on. Trust me, you don't want all your apps on your home screens. That's an awful iPhone experience. If you want to change the grid on the layout, you can certainly find that in here, and there are several options down there. Your folder grid, which I feel like is a new thing, but maybe not. You can go 3x4 or 4x4, which is kind of fun. You can even lock your home screen layout if for some reason things keep getting messed up, or you really got everything perfect and you don't want anything messed up. This one, though, you definitely want to do. This is swipe down for notification panel. And all that means is you don't have to reach all the way up here, which I think I keep doing. You can just swipe from right here and that'll bring your notification panel down. Definitely set that one up. So same home screens or different home screens, up to you, but that's where you'll find that option. Okay, so one other thing though, going from screen to screen is there's an option called continue apps on cover screen. So look, see again, I reached up there. So if we go into display, and we'll come back to this section for further stuff, but right here, this continue apps on cover screen. So if I tap on that, I can select all the apps that I want to. Well, backing up for a second. When you close your phone like this, it locks it. It goes into the dark state. It puts, your always on display back on, that sort of thing, which is fine. This is kind of how you want it to mostly work. You close it to put it away, sort of like a flip phone. However, you may have apps where you're using them on the inside, and when you close your phone, you actually want them to continue on the outside. This is where you set that up. So you can scroll through, see like Amazon shopping. For some reason, I have that. But like Chrome. So if you're browsing around, so for example, here I am, I've got Droid Life up. I'm seeing what's new for the day. I'm reading an article and I go, well, I need to close this. I got to go, but I want to keep reading. I close this and it stays open. See how it didn't lock my phone. So it's a really handy little shortcut. And what I really like about it is that they let you specify which apps you want to do that. So it could be your messaging app, it could be Twitter. I think I have to it. Several apps you can set up to do that. And they're just all located right in this section. So another area that we often like to dive into in these first 10 things videos is this area up here, your quick settings. So your quick settings toggles are, these are those things that you use all the time to like turn Wi-Fi on and off, adjust your auto rotate, fire up your flashlight, your auto or your do not disturb, Bluetooth settings, whatever. These are just really handy shortcuts. And so we always tell you to kind of set up that first row up there. You can see if I swipe all the way down, I have all these settings and there's like pages of them. But when you swipe down once, you have this lineup. And so on this phone in particular, you get 7. A lot of phones are 6 or something like that. And Google's changing these a little bit in Android 12, but for now, we don't have Android 12 here. If you go to the cover display, you also have those. It just drops from 7 to 6, but you still have plenty of shortcuts. So at least set up your first 6 so that those are easily accessible. So if we swipe down and swipe down again, you'll see this 3 dot up here and there's an edit buttons option. And if you tap that, it lets you, click and drag and move these around into whatever order you want to. There's some additional ones up here. You can drag those down here in case you want them down here. If you don't want something, you can drag it up here. So you can adjust plenty of that stuff. And there's multiple pages if you want. You can add even new pages, I think. So anyways, you want to set those up. Again, the first 7, but the first 6 for sure. So I want flashlight over here. I think I tried to get rid of this. Go over there. Thank you. So you want to set up for sure the first 6, definitely the first 7 if you can. And that gets you into those quick shortcuts. There's some other things that you want to adjust in here. So you'll notice if I swipe down once, I have a brightness slider that appears down here. Maybe you like that, maybe you don't, but you can adjust things like that. Also, notice how if I swipe down a second time, I have devices and media shortcuts here. You can change the position of that as well. So you tap this and go into quick panel. And quick panel, this is where you decide where you want that brightness slider. Do you want it where I had it, or would you rather it be not in this section and require a second swipe down to get it? I like mine here with the single swipe. You may not like that. So that's the adjustment there. Same thing with devices and media. If you want them to show down below, now they're showing down below. Does that make sense? So this is just that personal preference thing, like where you want buttons to appear. But thankfully, Samsung lets you adjust those things. The other thing is if you go into status bar, you can adjust a couple of things in here, like if you want your battery percentage, how many notification icons you want to show, if you want to have floating notifications and bubbles and things like that. Those are all quickly accessed from there. Okay, let's talk sound settings for a second. So it's time to just hang out in the settings area for a while. Hope you're okay with that. We're going to skip connections, Wi-Fi and Bluetooth and stuff. I think you guys probably know how to deal with that. Anyway, sound and vibrations. Some of those things that we often tell you to do are, well, first of all, can I just say that Samsung's ringtones and notification sounds are like the worst in the business. I swear they haven't changed since 2009 or something like that. They're awful. Anyway, so these are the ones I chose. They're not too bad sounding. You have your volume controls. Obviously, you have a volume slider over here, and you can tap the three dots and that brings out more controls over that. You guys know how to work that thing. But you can also adjust them from in here as well. And you can flip the toggle so that your volume will default adjust your phone versus your media. I like it to do media because I don't think I get a ton of phone calls, but that's where that is. But one thing you may want to do is look at vibration patterns. And this is when a call comes in, you can change the vibration, one that maybe will grab your attention more than others. Same thing works in notifications. And then vibration intensity is always a good one. So when you have an incoming call, I have mine set to be super vibrating. I know that's not a word, but so I might hear it if it's laying on a desk away from me or if it's in my pocket or something like that. Notifications, I don't typically like those to vibrate the hell out of my desk, so I tone those down. And then touch interactions are just when you're touching things. I like to tone mine down a little bit too. I don't need it to be too crazy. Anyway, find a nice spot for your fingers. Some other things in here, system sound and vibration controls. When you're touching things, moving around your phone, these are the sound and vibration toggles for those. Like if you don't want it to beep every time you plug it into charge, that would be the toggle there. And then for those of you who use a lot of headphones or watch a lot of media, you have Dolby Atmos controls in here, including an equalizer when you have headphones in, and you can use some of these presets or even customize your own. So you do have some sound settings to play with. Heading now into notification settings right below that. There's not a ton to worry about in here, but you can kind of decide how you want your notifications to look as they roll in, when they alert you, because there are some pop-up styles. So for example, I've got detailed on because I like to see more information, but you could have brief as well. And it should look like that. And so this is the detailed version where I can read it and even do quick replies and stuff like that. If you do the brief version, it just kind of shows you this slim little bubble, which again, it's preference thing. Decide which you want. But you can see all of your recent notifications here. You can toggle things off if you don't want them notifying you, things like that. You'll also find your do not disturb settings in here. So if you need do not disturb on at scheduled times and things like that, this is where you'll find that. I have mine on obviously when I'm sleeping, but there's other stuff in here and you can customize that experience as well. Do not disturb's been around forever. I don't think I need to dive too deeply into there. From there, we'll go back into display. I told you we'd return here. So this is where you'll find your light and dark themes. I have mine scheduled. Some people think I'm a weirdo because I like a light theme during the day and dark at night. Some people like dark all the time. I don't. So anyway, it depends on what you are, but you can do that. You can even schedule it. See, I have a schedule. Mine comes on at night when it gets dark out. Your brightness toggles, your adaptive brightness, the motion smoothness stuff. This is your 120 hertz. This is part of the reason why you bought the damn phone. So inside you have 120 hertz display. Outside you have 120 hertz display. And the basics there are, it's really, really smooth. By the way, the outside display is one of the smoothest, nicest displays on any phone I've ever used. This inside big one's really cool. Don't get me wrong. This outside one is really, really nice. Anyway, you want it on adaptive. It uses 120 hertz. Standard drops it to 60 and things are going to look jittery. I promise. There is a difference. The guy out there saying there's no difference between that, I can barely tell. You're a fool. And that is not true at all. I've looked at a million displays in my day. You can tell between 60 and 90, and you can certainly tell between 60 and 120. Anyway, eye comfort shield. I think you guys probably know what this is, but it's basically when it turns your phone into this blue light filter ambery color. That's what that is. I typically have mine scheduled. I feel like I haven't seen it much lately. Anyway, here's your color screen controls if you want it natural or more vivid and you want to make it warmer or cooler. You can do that. There's even some advanced if you want to adjust with that. I just leave it on vivid out of the box. That's mostly it other than this guy, Edge Panel. Edge Panel, I believe, was a note feature at first, and that's this little thing over here where you swipe it out and shows you app shortcuts, a number of different things. I don't typically like it, but I do use it on this phone because of the big screen, and I also have a Tab S7 Plus that I use it on. I always turned it off on Note and other Galaxy phones. It's just the thing. I use this though because I use split screen apps a lot. So for example, I have all these shortcuts to open 2 apps at a time, so I don't have to manually do it all the time. That's what I use it for. However, if you're one of those people that really likes the edge panel display thing, you can put contact shortcuts and weather shortcuts and a compass and all sorts of stuff in here, but this is where you'll find all these settings. You can of course adjust where you want this little handle, they call it, if you want it down here, up here, left, right, transparency, the color of it, all of that stuff. You can adjust all of that stuff. Again, I actually leave it on these devices because I like the dual app action. But if you don't want it on, that's where you'll find it. We already talked about continue apps on cover screen. The rest of this stuff isn't that big of a deal. However, navigation stuff, it comes with gestures on out of the box. You guys know how these work, right? Android's gestures. I don't think you need a tour there. But if you're a 3-button guy, you still have the 3 buttons. And if you turn 3 buttons on, you can have it over here on the right, in the center, or on the left, and you can adjust the button layout and all of that stuff. So lots of stuff to customize. I'm going gestures. Cruising right along here, let's skip wall. You guys know how to set a wallpaper, right? I don't think I need to show you that. Themes, there's still a theme store from Samsung. Most of it's paid, I think. Most of it's paid, I think, at this point, but you can do themes. They're in here. I'll let you guys play with those. We've talked about home and lock screen and biometrics, and skipping all this, we're going into advanced features. This is one of my favorite sections on Samsung phones because this is the where they've created a bunch of cool features and they don't really sure where to put them, so they just call them advanced. There's a bunch of stuff, and I'm not going to go through every one, but like call and texting on other devices. If you own some other Samsung devices, like a tablet, you can set this up so that you can make calls from that tablet, if that makes sense. Same thing with continuing apps on other devices. If you use Samsung Internet and Samsung Notes a lot, you can use those on this and then go grab your other phone or tablet and continue on where you left off. But again, it's only weirdly for those 2 apps. Link to Windows is the Windows Your Phone experience. So that's built into Samsung phones where you can continue using your phone on your Windows PC and access your apps and all of that stuff. That's what that is. It's pretty handy, actually. I just haven't set it up on this phone, but it's pretty darn handy. There's your Dex and Android Auto and whatever. S Pen, we haven't even talked about that. I've had it laying here this whole time. See if I can get this thing out with one hand. It's in this stupid little case. The S Pen experience here is, well, let's talk about it for a second. So I promise, let's see how long it takes me. There we go. Okay, so there is an S Pen. It is called the Fold Edition S Pen. You guys have seen this thing. I think it costs $30 or something. Not sure it's worth it, but here it is. So here are your S Pen settings. And yes, this thing does indeed work. It only works on the inside screen though. So if you have this and you wanted to use it on the cover display, it doesn't work out there, weirdly. So anyway, tap on there. This is where you get your standard S Pen controls of everything, just like you had on the Note. You screen off memos. So if you're here and you want to write on your screen, you just hold it close, click the pen, and then you can doodle and save your notes or whatever. So you can do that, which is cool. Let's get back in there. Your Air View and your shortcuts, which is like you click the button in on the S Pen and it brings up shortcuts to a bunch of apps. Pen Up is pretty much all I ever use, which is the coloring book one. Show the pointer when you're hovering. You guys can probably see that. Anyways, these are your S Pens. I'm not going to do a whole S Pen tutorial. We've done these. Here, I'll link one above or below or something where we've talked about how to use the S Pen on all sorts of Note phones. Same experience here. It's just a little bit softer on this inside screen, but it is there. So we do have an S Pen. Let's use the S Pen for a little bit now. Some other things in here are like the side key, which is talking about your power button. I have it double pressed to launch the camera. That's kind of the default on Android. I like it that way, but you can have it do Bixby or a custom app. And if you press and hold, you can have it wake up Bixby, or open the power button. If you do have it do Bixby, you can actually swipe down here and there's another power button right there in case you were wondering how you would turn your phone off. What is next? Motions and gestures. Have we talked about these yet? Jeez Louise, S Pen, get out of here. Some gestures and stuff. Lift to wake, double tap to wake, double tap to go back to sleep. Those are all in here, including like keep screen on while you're viewing it so it doesn't go to sleep. Like if you have a timer set on when it should time out, as long as you're looking at it, it'll stay on. Your palm swipe to capture, which will do screenshots, or you can do volume down and power still, which is the default. You'll find some stuff in there. Again, I told you I wasn't going to go through all of this stuff. There's your Bixby routines. If you have Bixby stuff set up to like automate your house or, things like that. Run a routine in the morning when you get up, that sort of stuff. I mean, this list just keeps going on and on and on. The game launcher, if you play a lot of games, you might want that. It gives you some controls during games to, like mute calls and things like that. Here's your screenshots and screen recorder settings, all in there. I do want to go into the labs section though. So if we go into labs, this is like, remember how I said that Samsung had all these features they created that they weren't sure where to put, so they created advanced features? Well, now labs is like, we aren't sure these are ready for advanced, so let's call it labs. But what's cool about this stuff is like this one, multi-window for all apps. So some apps on this phone, because of its weird ratio, just won't let you put them where you want them. Like they won't let you put them in split screen or in the 3-screen layout. But if you turn this on, it kind of overrides the developer and lets you put them wherever you want them. So I like that one. You'll also find some things like on auto rotating apps, because that's kind of wonky sometimes with this. Aspect ratios, like if an app just doesn't look great in this big old display, you can actually adjust it to force it to go full screen or 16:9 or whatever. So that's kind of handy if you have some apps that are being kind of weird. The other thing here is this flex mode panel. So flex mode means if you're using the phone and it's like slightly bent, right? And what it'll do is whatever is the top section, I'll show you, I have it turned on for the calculator. So if I go in here and find the calculator, and it's on by default for a bunch of other Samsung apps, and I tilt it like this, you'll see that how it flipped up and now it's only showing the calculator up top. And then down here, it's giving me controls like to get to my notifications or take a screenshot, brightness, volume, and all that. So it only does like half. And if you flip it over, it'll flip back to that way as well. So that's what it's talking about. Flex mode is where it puts everything on one half of the screen. Anyway, it's kind of a cool little feature that you might find useful. And again, it's on out of the box for a bunch of Samsung apps. Like you can see the calculator and calendar from them, but I just happened to turn it on for Google. So anyways, the labs, these are kind of stuff just to play with in case you find something extra interesting, and the advanced features are always fun just to tinker with. All right, almost wrapping up here, we're gonna skip down to battery and device care. So in this section, there's like a one-stop shop button for optimizing your phone based on whatever Samsung thinks needs to be done. That's like killing apps in the background, clearing your cache, maybe getting rid of duplicate apps and things like that. So that's what that button does. But if you want to dive in individually, you can go into like your battery settings, right? And in here is where you'll find like your settings for your power saving mode. Like when you get to a certain low percentage, what will happen? Like limit CPU usage and turn off your always on display. You can also set background usage limits on apps. Number one, Samsung will try to smartly do this on its own. Like if it sees a bunch of apps you're just not really using, it'll try to put those to sleep so that, they aren't using any battery at all. And they'll even put some to deep sleep if they aren't used at all. And so you can adjust those. Like if there's something that's not giving you notifications or whatnot, you can look in this deep sleeping apps, tap on it, and then go into, I believe it is battery, and then allow background activity, and that will wipe it out of the deep sleep. So you can do that. You'll also find in here your wireless power share settings. So if you want to charge your earbuds on the back of it, there are some additional stuff in here. Like there's your adaptive battery where it just, again, tries to put things to sleep. You can that battery toggle percentage thing up there. And here's where your fast charging toggles are. I don't really know why there's toggles for these. I think fast charging should just happen all the time. If you want to see your usage, it's not very obvious, but you actually just tap on this. And it doesn't like blink or anything, but you do just tap on that middle graph there, and it'll show you which apps are using what, and including your last 7 days of usage and things like that. This freaking app, man, they need to do something. It's just destroying battery life. The other thing in here is like, here's storage, and it'll offer up like, maybe you want to clear up some of these unused apps or duplicate files and things like that in case you want to get rid of stuff. This thing comes with 256 gig storage, which is probably pretty good for a while, but if you have it for a couple years. Memory, this is where you can just clean up apps that are just using stuff. So you can see, just flush stuff. If your phone's sluggish or something like that, feel free to dive into there. We'll go into apps just for a second. This is where your apps list are, and you probably know this. You can tap on an app and go in, and this is where you'll find the notification settings and your permissions, and if it's using battery and you want to limit it, or how much storage it's using and things like that. I don't need to show you that, I don't think. But one thing is up top here, which is choose default. So since this is a Samsung phone, they load it up with all their own apps, and then you probably install all of your Google apps or whatnot. So you can choose like your default browsers. This is where you find that, your default phone and your messaging apps. You can see I've mostly switched to Google's, but I have a good mix mix of the two. So that's in there. You may want to go in and do that. As you start using your phone, it'll prompt you to set defaults on stuff. But if you don't want that to happen, this is where you just do it. Or if you mistakenly set like Samsung Internet as your default, this is where you can change it back to Chrome. All right, last section here, and I could probably talk about this phone for 2 hours, but let's go into the camera just to show you a couple of things here. So camera, obviously, let's get something in the background there. So camera, obviously, double tap that, fires it up. There's a camera shortcut if you didn't know how to do that. But there are some interesting things in here. Obviously, you can toggle these buttons over here and that'll go your zoom levels and switch camera lenses and things like that. Pretty standard stuff. Your shutter button, you have your settings and stuff up here, including a big settings button, which takes you in to let your camera automatically optimize scenes and show suggestions on maybe what you should do. You should definitely leave the scanned QR code since we still live through a pandemic and you're probably going to have to scan those if you ever go out to eat. What were the other things I wanted to show you? Well, here's like your auto HDR and your grid lines and your tracking autofocus. It's all in here. Again, I don't want to spend a ton of time. This is all personal preference stuff, but that's how you just get into all of your camera settings. What I did want to show you is like customizing your layout. Like you have your shortcuts down here and you can tap on these. You should also be able to swipe. Yeah, you can swipe on the screen to get between them. But if you go over to more, you'll find a whole bunch of other things. Like maybe you want to shoot in pro mode. You just long press and grab and drag that to the bottom. Now you have pro mode. And if you want to adjust the layout down here, you just grab one and you drag and you move things around. If you don't want one, you grab and you drag it back up here and it goes back up there. Pretty simple stuff. The other thing I would show you is because you have all these cameras and all these screens and stuff, there are a couple of other shortcuts that you won't see on normal phones. So up here is one, and that says cover screen preview. So what it's doing now is showing you a preview from the screen. So if you want to take selfies like with this guy, you can. And how you do that is you just press like volume down. And see, it just took a shot. And you can view the shot here, but there's also this cool thing over here, the shortcut in this top corner, which shows you your recently taken photos. And so your recently taken photos show up here and you can, you'll see multiple of them here. So if I take a couple more shots here, they should just show up here. And so you can scroll through and look at all the shots you've just taken, which is pretty sweet. If you want to quickly delete, you just long press on one and you'll get share and delete buttons. And then you can delete those. So a couple of extra controls that are kind of cool and worth taking advantage of. So anyway, that's the camera. And this is the Galaxy Z Fold 3. I know it was a long video. We just, we talk through stuff. So that should get you going. If you bought this phone, I hope you're really enjoying it. It's a very cool phone. A little heavy, but very cool. By the way, I know everyone loved the green one. I'm just going to keep talking now and really annoy you guys. Tim bought the green one. I went with this silver. And while I'm wiping away fingerprints now, it didn't really have any for the first several days. Very, very sleek, sexy device. I haven't had a light phone like this in a while. Most of them have been black and green and whatnot. So anyways, if you have comments, questions, let us know. We will have reviews shortly. We are Droid Life. Peace.